So really, when I got there in 18 with Nick, and we knew each other before that too, the first thing that stood out to me was his command for the big stage, getting in front of the offense and speaking to the team. That was something that stuck out right away. I mean, he does an unbelievable job of getting in front of a big crowd and just speaking to people and conveying the knowledge and the details of which he wants to get things done. So that was probably the first thing. And then his relationship with the players. It goes back to some of the guys that were the back end roster guys that we were trying to get better to make the team, and then big stars like T.Y. Hilton and all these other guys. The relationship he had and how he challenged them, that was something that was different, especially being around a guy that's we're about the same age. You don't always see that, the ability to channel different ways to reach guys, and that was something that was very unique.
Mike and then Zach Berman.
Hey, Kevin, with your background with wide receivers and quarterbacks, how have you been able to kind of teach wide receivers and quarterbacks about the opposite side of the field, kind of the defense? Speaking to a former player of yours, he said that was kind of more of your role in Indy. How has that kind of come together?
So being able to coach both positions, it's interesting because you can really marry the two. And coaching receivers in Indy, I was able to use my quarterback knowledge from coaching that position and playing it, and get the guys to understand why they needed to be somewhere and the reason why we needed to have them there at that time. So when you look at a guy like Ty, for example, there was a lot of conversations we had in the past about, hey, when you see this coverage, this is the zone we want to affect, or this is what the quarterback's doing, why he needs you there on this timing and rhythm. So I think you can really teach the guys a different perspective that they're not used to hearing. If you're just a receiver coach, sometimes you have a different background of technique and fundamentals. Whereas when you have that quarterback background, you know what the quarterback's thinking and what they have to do from play to play and the details of which they're asked to get things done. And that knowledge can be conveyed to the receivers. And then they start to understand more of, oh, this is why you need me there. And it's not just I'm running a route to run a route. I think it can really help.
Go ahead, Zach, and then John McMullen.
Hey, Kevin, nice to meet you. You were
Good to
one of
meet you too.
the first guys Nick, I guess, brought over, came here with.
Yeah.
Those first few days, what was that like for you and Nick when you were putting the staff together? And then how would you explain what your role is here?
So that was kind of fun. Nick and I obviously came together on the first trip, and that was neat. That was a great experience for me. And then being on the front end of a lot of it, like I said, that was another great experience. We were together going through a lot of the hiring process and things we wanted to get done, and the culture we were thinking about setting, and his ideas of what he wanted to do, and just kind of being there for him, being a sounding board and letting him take what he wanted to do and get it in the right direction, and anything that I could offer up to help him, I tried to do. So that was big, obviously, for him. And so I just wanted to support him in any way I could. And we had so many talks over the years, him and I, about, hey, if one of us ever gets the chance, what are we going to do? And obviously he was in that position. So it was cool to kind of see it go through with the knowledge and stuff he wanted to do. And then as far as my role, obviously with the pass game, I'll be heavily involved. I'm working with the receivers from time to time, been in quarterback meetings, kind of been a little bit of everywhere, having my hands on everything, and making sure we're getting done what we want to do in the pass game, and working with Shane as well, obviously. And the good thing is, for all three of us, Shane, myself, and Nick, we've all worked together in some capacity, with Nick. So it's very easy for us to come together. We know what Nick wants and the vision he has. So, we can go work our angles and get things done that we need to get done.
If I can follow up real quick, you said you had those conversations over the years about what you would do if you were head coaches. Was there anything that happened that you could not have prepared for, that you only knew being in those shoes?
Not really. I mean, I was fortunate enough to be around a lot of good head coaches and on a lot of newer staffs. Obviously, that's a good problem and a bad problem, I guess. But I took a lot away from, the Todd Bowles, and I was with Chan Gailey and Herm Edwards and Ken Wisenhunt and all these guys. And Nick had the same thing with all these different guys you've been around. And obviously with Frank, both of us being there, you kind of take things and you hear things from them, and you just kind of work through it. Your experience gets you to a certain point, and then you got to use what is the best decisions and things to go forward from there.
John and then Jeff McLean.
Hey, Kevin, nice to meet you. to kind of follow up on that, the relationships you've had with Nick and Shane, and obviously you guys have been together, but you're in different roles now. Obviously, Nick's the head coach. Is that going to be an evolution, or do you guys kind of know how this is going to work and mesh together when you get closer to game planning? And then secondly, um, your interesting sort of history as a player, quarterback, wide receiver. Do you have a comfort with one or the other of position from your playing days?
So to answer your first question, it's kind of interesting how we've been going about the offense, because Nick's background with Shane, it's a lot of similarities to what the offense was in Indy. And then it evolved in Indy with me and Nick and how we did things. And then Shane evolved, obviously, as a coordinator with the Chargers. So it's kind of been neat to put all three of us together and go through the offense and say, okay, we liked this, we didn't like that, let's change this. This is what we want to do. This is a staple. This is something we need to emphasize. So that's been really good for all of us to kind of talk through things. And like I said, we kind of have a similar philosophy in what we all like to do and what we've seen and how we want to get guys in positions to make plays. And then to answer your second question, not really. Coaching quarterbacks was great. Loved doing that. Obviously, that's what I played most of my life. And then I played some receiver in college. And then coaching that position, that's been fun too. And that's kind of what's been interesting. So that's another common bond that Shane, Nick, and myself all have, and especially Nick and I. He's coached both positions, and we've coached similar players. I had Stevie Johnson in Buffalo, and then he had Stevie at the Chargers. And so there's a lot of things that we rely on. I had Dwayne Bowe when he was a rookie for a year or two when I was coaching. I just started coaching at the Chiefs, and then he was there with him as well. So there's a lot of fun background things that we can talk through. But as far as being comfortable with a certain position, no, not really. I think each one has its own unique style. Quarterbacks, obviously, you go at it a different way. Receivers, you can kind of go at them a different way. But that blend is what's kind of unique to have, that you can go take both positions and give them more information than the average person.
Go ahead, Jeff, and then Paul Domowitch.
Hi, Kevin. Nice to meet you. You mentioned the bones of the offense. If you look at the three guys that have to do a lot with the offense, Nick, you, and Shane, the guys that you've coached under, you mentioned Chan Galley, the bones of the offense. I mean, is there some Earhart Perkins in it? Is there some Eric Coryell? Is there some West Coast? I mean, what do you when you look at the offense as it is in the playbook, is it all those or than the other?
Yeah, I think it's a good mix. I mean, it's going to be obviously the Philadelphia Eagles offense, and training camp will obviously help us with that too, solidify what we want to do, what we're going to hang our hat on, and kind of what direction we're going. We have got a good feel for what we want to do right now with the last couple of weeks of work. But yeah, it's a good mixture. I mean, look at the around the league, the offenses are kind of evolving every year. And so as a coach, that's your job. You have to evolve. You have to study other people and take what you like and past experiences and go from there. So I think it's kind of, like I said, it's going to be our offense, the Philadelphia Eagles offense.
We'll take a couple more here. So we'll go to Paul, Jeff, and then EJ.
Hey, Kevin. I wanted to ask you about your quarterback. Jalen's obviously a unique player, what he brings to the table with his running ability. What does that running ability mean to the passing game with respect to how it's going to limit man coverage from teams and that sort of thing?
Well, I think anytime you've got a quarterback that's got legs and he's a threat in that direction, defense has to honor it in some capacity. So they're going to be limited in some areas too, and some things that they may have done against a different quarterback, they're probably not going to do to you. So there's certain things you can do going into a game knowing, okay, we're going to get this, probably not this, or this is something that they've done in the past to a running quarterback or a guy that can make plays if the pocket breaks down. So there's a way you can game plan and kind of use that to help you and help the player.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Hey, Kevin, I'm curious, as someone who spent a lot of time around Nick in the past and got to know him, what your thought about the public's reaction to his first press conferences and how he appealed to the media and public, and just you watching that. Is that something you anticipated, knowing how he is, and what did you think of it?
It's funny. I really didn't pay attention too much to it because he was so busy doing that stuff that I had all the other stuff he wanted me to do. So like, he's like, hey, I got to do this. You got to do this, this, and this for me. So I was kind of like running around making phone calls, you know, hey, we're going to interview this guy, do this, do that. We got to set up this, set up that, walking around the building. What are we going to change? You know, things like that, to where I really didn't pay attention too much to it until after the fact. And even then it was kind of like, okay, you know, it was your first one. Well, we'll just keep going from there. And I know what kind of guy he is and what he can do and what he does in front of the team. And so, you know, that's the setting I see him in the most and how real he is. So you know, it was kind of unique to say the least, but I really didn't pay attention because I was so busy doing the other stuff for him that he wanted to get done.
I got you. Can you expand a little bit when you had said he challenges players in a very unique way as you got to know him? What you meant by that?
So the one thing that he does is he believes in competition at its finest. I mean, he will challenge everybody, obviously to get better, but to just be more competitive within themselves, with the team, with the room, whatever it may be. And a couple of things he does is, you know, there's a lot of video we watch, obviously. There's all these teach tapes and different ways we try to get guys to get better. And, you know, he's always wanting, hey, if this is better than the previous one, I'm going to put you on the teach tape. So that's one way he's going to challenge guys to get, you know, more competitive with what they're doing. And it's a different way. You know, he's going to, if you're a guy that needs to be loved up a little more on certain things and, hey, you need more explanations, you need more visual cues, you need more, you know, talking through, more walkthroughs, he's going to try to find a way to appeal to everybody and get to that personal side and get to know them and then challenge them to be more competitive.
All right, we'll take one more here from EJ.
Hey, Kevin, I wanted to ask you about Brian Johnson. What kind of role has he had as you guys sort of shape the offense? And you guys obviously had Tom Manning over at Indianapolis. And,
yes.
You know, Brian's kind of like a similar mold of somebody who came from college. How important is that diversity, you know, in his offensive scheme?
Yeah, Brian's done a great job so far. He's done a great job with those quarterbacks and really offensively too. It's been fun to ask him a lot of questions like, hey, what are, you know, I was in college at 2017 at A&M, so I got to do a lot of the RPO stuff. And so we've had a lot of good talks, but it's good to have a guy on the staff that knows that kind of game and what's going on and what's the new trends in college and some new things we can add. And a guy that's been doing it for a long time. I mean, he played the position at a high level in college. He's been coaching at a high level. So to have somebody else you can bounce ideas off of and go through and say, hey, could we do this? Have you done this before? Oh, you have. Okay, let's watch that. Let's try to, can we use that at this level? Because it's all about being cutting edge. And the quicker you can beat somebody to the punch and you're the first one to do it and put it out there on tape, defenses have to stop it. And everybody knows it's a copycat league. So if you can get out in front of things, you got a big advantage. So Brian's done a great job with that kind of stuff.
All right. Thank you for the time, Coach.
I appreciate it. Good to meet you guys. Hopefully I see you guys in person soon. Get to meet you and say hello.